G'day, Jason Belmonte here, and you are about to watch the player's perspective of the 2019 World Championship, where I'm playing against Jakob Butturff, attempting to break the all-time PBA major record. And we are in Thunder Bowl, Detroit, Michigan, one of the most famous houses in all of bowling. A lot of history at Thunder Bowl. I've had a lot of success at Thunder Bowl. I had previously won a TOC there. I had won a PBA Finals, and I'd also won a Chameleon Open Championship. So the arena is a place that serves me well. And the place was packed, absolutely packed. And this entire show had a really cool vibe about it. It was just one of those shows where you knew cool stuff was going to happen, and every single match came down to the 10th frame. Every single one for the whole show. It was a really great show. And Jakob here, using his trusty urethane, had just snuck by in the match prior. And you know, Jakob is the kind of guy that him, along with maybe Jesper in particular, are probably the two guys that can strike the most when they're on. When they're locked and loaded on any pattern, they are strike machines. So he's also the kind of guy that I see it plenty of times as well. You know, he starts off slow and finishes off big. It's like, you know, I'll walk past his pair and he'll have like spare, open, spare. And I'll be like, oh, maybe Jakob will bowl a bad game. And then I'll come back and it's 255. I'm like, he struck out? Are you kidding me? Yeah, he does that a lot. But he's been bowling on this pair for a few games, so the urethane ball has been rolled quite a lot. And as somebody like him who uses urethane a little bit, I know that when you are stuck on the same pair with urethane, you know, you really do limit the amount of down lane motion you get. A lot more hook in the fronts, forces you a little bit further inside, and it can be really difficult to strike. So my goal, knowing that, you know, after the first two frames, the bucket and then the 7-pin, his reaction isn't ideal. And now it's my job to step up and put a lot of pressure on him early. So I'm using a high road pearl, which I didn't use at all for the entire World Series of bowling until we came over to the Arena Bay. And if you're familiar with the Thunder Bowl layout, is where we're playing now is the Arena Bay. I think there's 20 lanes in the Arena Bay. And then you go across to the main bay for a huge portion of lanes, and then they have like a disco area down the other end of the place. So there's 3 different bays, all with different surfaces of lanes, and they all play very, very different. And this particular surface in here is extremely high friction. So that ball just does not float down the lane like it does in the main bay. So you have to change your equipment when you come to the arena. And I think I might have been using a lot of like stronger covers, stronger core balls the entire week. And then now I'm using, you know, one of our weakest ones to try and create some length and some shape down lane. And those 3 shots were, you know, really, really good shots.
Roll a 300. A $1 million bonus check courtesy of
So another $1 million up for grabs for 300. I'd been fortunate enough that there were 4 events in this season that offered the $1 million for the title match, and I played for all 4 of them. Unfortunately, I never rolled 12 in a row to win the $1 million, but neither did my opponents. But it was a pretty cool feeling to be able to say, you know what, I had a chance 4 times to win $1 million. And I think 3 of the 4 times I actually started off with a couple of strikes. So, but I'd learned from the last time. The very first time that I'd ever played for the $1 million, when I did miss, I had a loss of focus, and you know, my mind was thinking, oh no, you just missed $1 million. You left a 10-pin. And it caused me to miss the 10-pin that particular tournament. So now I'm thinking to myself, I don't care what happens on the lanes. I don't care about anything. My job is to stay focused and execute every frame as if it were the most important frame of your life.
Soft 7 on the left lane for Jakob Butturff, failing to double up.
Second time it's left standing there on the left lane. So Belmo, perfect.
Now, another really interesting part of this setup at Thunderball is, I don't know if you can see it or if they do show it to you, but there is a gigantic screen over lane 7, 8, 9, 10. It is, you know, like 6 meters by 8 meters. It is like massive. It's probably not that big, but it's a huge screen. And they had the live feed of the bowling of what we were doing on the screen. So you can actually see the reflection in the lane. So when my school children came up on the screen, I actually remember thinking to myself, don't get distracted, don't get distracted. And of course I had to say hello to them. And I'm like, no, refocus, regroup. And I was really happy with that shot. Didn't quite go through the pins the way that I was hoping, but I was pretty happy with that shot. But I wanted to make sure that I covered it after missing it at the TOC, and I was able to do that. So now it's time to get back on the old strike chain, because you know Jakob's only 20 pins down. It's early in the match. He's a kind of guy that if he starts stringing them together, he strings a lot together. So you want to make sure that you've got those bonus pins up your sleeve coming down to the 10th if you need them.
You could have asked for a better title match. Jakob Butturff, who started off the season red hot, then Jason Belmonte and what he's done in the majors, lefty versus righty, as he uses his high road pearl and looking for his 4th strike.
So that was a shot that was probably a little further to the right, but my fingers kind of got stuck in it a little more and I hit it a little harder. So even though I missed it, you know, maybe a board or two to the right, those extra revs that I was able to put on the ball completely accidentally. It was just, you know, just falling off my shot just a little bit, which probably is the reason why I missed a little to the right, but it's also the reason why, you know, my hand stays in the ball a little longer at release and I was able to really catch it. Now that's the kind of pin motion that you don't want to see Jakob have, when you see the 4-pin bounce off the sidewall and carry the 7 like that. That's a really nice reaction for a urethane ball. At that point, I was really surprised to see that reaction, just because I knew how much urethane had gone down, how many games he had had. Matt McNeil was also bowling this this show and was using urethane as well. So there was a lot of urethane, and to still see that ball create that, you know, really strong motion through the pins to give that kind of carry, it certainly did worry me a little bit. But he didn't have that same motion on the left lane, which made me breathe easier again. And that's the hardest part about our game is, you know, it's not only do you want to be able to get yourself lined up and you know, make these subtle changes if need be to carry, you need to do them on 2 lanes, because you know, if you're going to go strike spare the whole way through, you're only going to bowl 200, which, you know, on our level doesn't win you too many games. And that was the missed 7-pin spare, which would end up becoming you know, one of the most costly single-pin spares in Jakob's career.
Is looking to go bang bang 6th and 7th.
Yes, he runs towards history.
That was probably one of my best shots of the match, just off my hand, the way that I felt it. It felt like that ball was going to just split the 8-9. And, you know, the Arena Bay, the high friction house, you know, that ball starts to get into its roll phase a little too early. You lose a lot of your down lane motion. So even though I had a 556 RPM, that ball did not want to change direction hard enough to carry the 10-pin. But make the spare, carry on. Jakob's had an open frame in the 6th, so I know
to stay
you know, I'm going to have a bit of a lead here.
Trust your technique, trust your focus, trust your routine. Routine is what will always save you and save you from the nerves.
But these are the moments where, you know, there's 4 frames left of a major championship that I hadn't won previously, a chance to break the record, and you're 4 frames away. So now is the time to just step up and throw some of the best shots that you possibly can. And, you know, that one there, one of the best, you know, that I've thrown in a 7th frame of any game of my life.
He can throw urethane. He can hook the entire lane. He can loft it halfway down the lane. He can throw it straight up first arrow. He can do just about anything you have to do to get to the pocket. And then when you add that much speed and power, good shot, Jakey.
So I think, you know, listening to Randy and Rob at this point, and maybe a lot of people at home had kind of written Jakob off at this point. They thought, you know, there wasn't enough frames, he didn't have the best ball motion, most likely wasn't going to win this, and, you know, was kind of going to be one of those very anticlimactic final frames. However, in my mind, I'm always assuming that my opponent is going to strike and to strike out. So I'm focusing myself now not to think, oh, he's going to get an open frame or a, you know, a 10 pin or a 7 pin. I'm thinking he's going to strike.
I'm not sure he was buying that one at release.
And when you have that thought process of always making the assumption that your opponent gets the maximum score possible, it allows you to get into a thought process of, you know, executing your next frame, making sure that you're prepared to throw the best shot of your life straight after, you know, he's throwing his.
So he's got a pair there. He's tied right
So now I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're now 2 frames away. I want to see this 9th frame be the greatest shot of your career. If I strike here in the 9th, then I know no matter what Jakob does in the 9th and 10th, all I'll need is a mark. And that is a considerable difference from striking, needing just a spare. It's so much easier making just a spare than it is a strike. So this 9th frame, as far as I was concerned, was going to be one of my best shots, you know, that I've thrown. And it wasn't. It was a little quick, and you can kind of see on the replay that, you know, I fall off my shot just at the last minute. I wasn't balanced, and every single time that I fall off my shot, you know, my ball speed goes up just a hair. And, you know, on our patterns on the PBA Tour, you know, changing your ball speed ever so slightly is enough to leave a 10 pin.
would need to fill 20 in the 10th frame, 228. It's not over.
So I make the spare. I can max out at 238. Jakob can max out for 227. If he maxes out, it forces me to at least throw the very first strike in the 10th. If anything less, then there would be a potential tie if he strikes out.
Ends up a pocket 7-10, leaves it again in the 10th frame. That ultimately cost him that major.
Butturff working on a double.
Must strike.
Making a triple.
And there's another one for Jakey. And remember, I'm thinking he's going to do this. He's going to strike out. He's going to force me to throw the first in the 10th. He's then going to force me to throw a mark in the 11th. And when you're in that, you know, that assumption mode, you already feel less pressure because you're already starting to experience the pressure. You're already starting to feel like, okay, he's going to strike out. I'm going to get myself ready. I'm a little nervous. I have a lot of pressure on my shoulders, but you can start to experience that immediately instead of waiting until you pick your ball up off the rack and then all of the emotions start to flood your body. So that 10th frame was a pretty remarkable shot.
Got 2 more shots.
You know, absolutely beautiful high flush strike with so much urethane going down that lane. It's just even watching this replay, it is so surprising to see how that ball still, goes through the pins.
We have a ball game. You heard him say it, make him earn it. Count, very important now, Rob. If he strikes...
So now this fill shot is
If he doesn't strike,
one of the
that
most
gives
important
Belmonte
frames
a
of
little wiggle room.
his life too. I mean, we said it earlier, or I said it earlier, needing a strike compared to a 9 spare to win is a huge difference. So a strike on this fill shot forces me to at least get a strike to beat him on count.
He whipped the 7-pin and the 6. Remember that frame.
Just gets a handful. One of the most unique releases in the history of the game. And when you talk to him about the way that he bowls and does he feel pain, and all of the answers that you would assume that would be happening to him just aren't. He doesn't feel pain when he bowls. That's even though it's a very unique style, it gives him a point of difference with the way that the ball rolls down the lane. And you're witnessing that this game, just so many revolutions, but also such a good shape through the pins. Not as good a shape as that one. That's the best frame of my life. That shot right there, that's the best strike I've ever thrown, ever in my life. Needing it to be perfect, watching the 8-9 be split in half, I thought to myself, right now, you need to repeat that shot. If you repeat that or get very, very close to repeating that shot, you will strike and win.
He's the greatest! He's the greatest!
And then right about now, I'm realizing I just broke the record for the most majors ever. And the crowd was so silent before that 10th frame and then was so loud afterwards. The guys there in Detroit really loved their bowling. And they were certainly expressing that through a very vocal performance from them.
Kimberly, Aria, Hugo, Sylvie. Daddy did it. Daddy did good.
So not only did I break the record, this tournament was really special for another reason. I don't know if we're going to watch this entire clip, but if you do, go to the PBA YouTube page and watch the entire show, because what you'll see is Kimberly Pressler comes and grabs me after the show to talk to me about the win, and she tells me that there's been a lot of really special people watch this match live back in Australia, and it happened to be my children at their school watching it on the big screen. So I was able to win this title with them watching all the way back in Oz live, and to break the record all in one was a pretty special moment, and very proud of myself, but not done yet. That might have been number 11, but I'm looking for number 12, 13, 14, and all the way up to as many as I can get before I'm dead.
Just absolutely shreds the rack.